Well, hello YouTube. This is Nathan Lawrence, Good News Tree Service in Wilsonville, Oregon. And today we're going to give a video tutorial on pruning out collected species shore or coast pine trees, Pinus contorta. And I have a client here who's got 9 of these. We've got some here and we've got a whole little forest of them over here. And so this is before we started the pruning, and then we'll actually do a quick video on pruning these out. I'm not going to give a tutorial on actually pruning. I've done that before on some of my other videos, but I want to just show you what these trees can look like. Now these trees are collected species. They were collected out of the mountains. Pinus contorta grows in a variety of environments from the sea level. They grow along the Oregon coast. They're called, we call them shore or coast pines. And they tend to grow in a very contorted but very large manner, and often windswept. They're actually often growing along the coast in the sandy soils and on the headlands and right along the coast. But they also grow in central Oregon, in the area of, well, just in central Oregon on the east side of the Cascade Mountains. And they will grow, well, they grow all the way from sea level up to 11,000 foot elevation. They're very prolific in the lodge, what we call lodgepole pine, still Pinus contorta, and they grow among the ponderosas, the Pinus ponderosa trees in central Oregon at the 3,000-4,000 foot level, 4,500 foot level in the area of Bend, Lapine, and some of those areas. And they tend to grow really tall and straight, hence the term lodgepole pine. I guess the natives, indigenous people use them to make their lodge poles, teepees or whatever. Not in Central Oregon maybe, but eastwards a little bit. And probably the pioneers did also. The straight timber often used for logs, for log cabins. Now these particular trees, at first I thought they were white bark pines, because I haven't seen lodgepole pines growing up in the high alpine country, 5,000 to 7,000 foot elevation in the Cascade Mountains. And I've climbed them in Oregon and Southwest Washington, and climbed these mountains. I've skied in them. I've backpacked all over the place. And so I thought these were white bark pines, but then I looked at the needles and there's two needles per fascicle. And this is a typical lodgepole pine configuration. And the white bark pines have 5 needles per fascicle. Per bundle. And so it threw me a little bit of a curveball. I know these are collected pines. In other words, they were dug up in the mountains, high alpine country. I can tell by the shape of them that they are that they were natively grown. That is, they were collected up in the mountains, dug, and then transported and put in this landscape. Now I know this landscape was done about 10 or 11 years ago. So these trees have been growing, and I drive by this property regularly, and I don't think they've ever been pruned out since the landscaper, the homeowner, had this done. And I'm working for another homeowner who didn't do the landscaping, and they want them pruned out. So we're going to prune these out in a Japanese Niwaki style, and I'm going to film me pruning these, and then we'll make a video on this. And so I hope this is instructive, what these trees look like once they've kind of been pruned in a Niwaki bonsai style, using bonsai style techniques, but on the larger trees. And we're going to still leave them looking really natural. We just want to open them up, remove some of the dead wood, and shape them a little bit. And we're not going to prune them in a real plastic, artificial look. We want to keep them still looking really natural as they might appear in the mountains, but just tidied up a little bit. Anyway, I can tell that they're collected because if they were pruned by a Milwaukee Japanese style pruner, they would have a very different look. It'd be similar, but you'd see more twisting in the in the structure, and it wouldn't be so natural looking. These are very natural looking, which is why I believe, let's take a look at these other ones, why I believe that these were collected. And somebody paid a lot of money to have these planted in here, around this bushes, and they paid a lot of money to have these collected and then planted here. And that's why this property owner wants to have us prune them out. We're going to spend probably half an hour to 45 minutes on each pine here. Jared, I want you, come on over here. I want you to go in there and start shaping shaping the candle. So we want to keep it looking really natural, but I'd like to get it the 8-foot ladder and start tipping the candles back. These guys, I want all this year's growth kind of cut off, and we want to keep them looking real natural. We got 3 trees here. We got this is very Japanese, this idea, whoever designed this, but we got the father, the mother, and the child. So you have the tree in the middle, which is the tallest, and we want to keep it taller, obviously. The one to the left is what we call the mother, and it's a little bit shorter, but not as tall. And then you have the child. That's the shortest one there on the right-hand side. So go ahead and tip this all back, and then start crown cleaning and taking out the dead wood, and then I'm going to start opening up the layers and kind of just real discreetly opening the trees up so that we can begin to see the structure of them through the massive foliage. Okay. For YouTube, we're using a couple pruners here. For the bigger stuff, we'll use our handy-dandy Felcos. But I'm using a pointed, kind of a Japanese style pruners. And this is going to be great for the fine pruning. It's got a sharp snout on it. It's got a spring. And we can go a lot faster with the hand than with the big Felcos. But then if I need to, I can pull the Felcos out of my sheath and cut a larger branch off. And if I need to, we've got a pruning saw over there, a little silky pruning saw for cutting any branches off, larger branches that we want to do. For YouTube here, we have, I've gone and thinned everything out, layered it on these trees. Now Jared has started on the right side, and now he's coming through and thinning and removing dead wood and candling, taking some of the candles back. So anyway, I've kind of gone through quickly and layered it. So now you can see the layers, and now he's opening things up a little bit. So we're done, almost done with these trees. Got the one on the right-hand side to do, or the left-hand side, and then we'll move over to the other ones. So I'd like to make a comment at this point on this video. I suppose a true Japanese-born and Japanese bonsai Niwaki trained aesthetic pruner might be mortified and horrified at what we're doing. I hope not. I respect these individuals greatly. I have not had the privilege of studying under them. I've not had the privilege of, at this point, of going to Japan and of being able to work under one of these masters. They will, I've known some, and they will spend all day on a tree like this, or a couple trees, with their little tiny pruners, smaller than this. And depending on the time of year when they're pruning it, they might actually be doing needle pruning and bud pruning, which you can do with these. We're doing this mid-season. We're not really candle pruning, we're just thinning, and we're doing some tipping back, but we're not doing pruning for ramification, which needs to be done in the late spring and again in the fall. We're not pruning for that right now. We're just pruning for shape and structure. And I am doing, over the decades, I have perfected, at least in my thinking, the art and the science of pruning these very quickly, because most people don't have the financial resources to have somebody like me come in, a tree service, and spend hours, hundreds if not thousands of dollars on two or three trees. So we have to go very quickly, and I've developed the ability to go through very quickly and get what we want. And so it's very, you might say, quick and dirty, but we're trying to achieve the same results very quickly so that we don't totally demolish the budgets of our clients. So that's what's going on, and that's why I say a true Japanese pruner from Japan, trained in Japan, or trained under a maestro, aesthetic pruner from Japan, would be probably going a lot slower. And the results might look a little bit better. I don't think they'd look a whole lot better, because I've looked at their work, and as far as the Niwaki goes, and I think our level of pruning is pretty much on par. When I look at for example, what I see going on around me. So I guess I'm kind of tooting my own horn a little bit, but we are going quickly to achieve, hopefully, really good results. Certainly my clients seem to like it. And we've had a chance to work in some really great Japanese gardens in our local area that were designed by these virtuosic Japanese garden designers, landscape architects, as well as pruners, actually from Japan. As you can see, I'm kind of opening this up now. This particular tree here is really, the green foliage is kind of shy on this side. It's because this crocosnia was all up against the tree. I actually beat it down. If you look down here, all of these weeds down here, they're not weeds, it's crocosnia, it's a perennial, was all up against the base of that tree. And this tree here, so it was blocking out the sun getting to this foliage on both of these trees. And I actually, when I came in here, it was all up against it, and I knocked it over with my feet and beat it down. So these trees, they're very healthy on top, but they're light starved on the bottom, which is sad. I'm going to recommend to the client that we get these things out of here, because it's you start fine tuning this one. This doesn't need much, and I'm almost done with that one. Okay, I'll call that one good. I've knocked a lot of the dead needles out, and I have got a layer that was so thick you couldn't even see this branching structure.
Really?
And yeah, it was really thick, especially toward the top. Now you can see this beautiful branching structure. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it was also, there were a lot of needles. And here is Betsy, our 1952 classic GMC dump truck. And we pan over from her over to these three Pinus contorta coast pines, these three classic trees that we just had the privilege of pruning out. Look at it from all the vantage points. They cleaned up nicely. Customer is really tickled. You see the branching structure? Looking through a plethora of foliage. And see the outline of the trunks on these Pinus contorta, these collected species. I'm thinking they came out of the foothills of the Rocky Mountains and were planted in this yard. And we're going to fertilize them. We're going to deep root fertilize them next spring. There goes the old Betsy and the stump grinder off to do some stump grinding. But anyway, we're going to deep root fertilize these next spring to give them a little shot of fertilizer. And now let's go over here. There's the jumbo, our big dump truck, and the chipper. And anyway, so let's take a look at this little forest of 6 trees here. And they also shaped up nicely. Very happy. Walk around, you can see the beautiful architecture of these trees, and we tried to accentuate them. We tried to leave them still look very natural. We wanted to liberate the shape of the trees from the dead wood and the plethora of foliage that had clouded the natural contortions of these trees. And that's their name, Pinus contorta, contorted pine, because in certain conditions, whether it be on the coast, Oregon coast, where they grow native, or up in the mountains, high up in the alpine country, because they grow up to 11,000 foot elevation, so that would put us in the Rockies, because we don't have any trees in the Pacific Northwest that grow to that elevation. So this would be probably the southern Rockies, Utah, I don't know, somewhere down in there, maybe southern Idaho. So here is a lace leaf Japanese maple that we pruned out last week. It was so thick you couldn't even see through the foliage. And the customer was so happy with the results in our Niwaki Japanese style pruning that she hired us to do the 9 contorted pines. She saw the artistry of our work and wanted us to do the same thing in the same style, but with these pine trees. So here's one last look at the pines, and I hope you enjoyed this.